Welcome to our weekly Mitzvah Shabbos program. Tonight, people are getting ready. They're saying Slichas before Rosh Hashanah, before Yom Kippur, Saras Yom Tshuva. It's a very serious time. It's a time of Charot al Ha'ovar, V'Kabol al Ha'abo. So many people might feel a little down, or chas v'sholem, depressed. I mean, I can understand. It's the end of the year. You know, when people have to, at the end of the year, people make a cheshbon, they make an accounting, whether they earn money, they didn't earn money, they have to pay tax. Did they make parnasa this year? They didn't make parnasa this year. So sometimes if they know that it could be better, they feel a little down. So they make a cheshbon nefesh. So people sometimes can go to shul tonight and say slichas a little bit depressed, chas v'sholom. So the Rebbe comes and the Rebbe says that we should say slichas, and the Rebbe used the word vakeldik, shaky. People should never be depressed. People should say l'chaim and be a little vakeldik, because l'chaim is ches yud yud mem. People farbring. L'chaim is yud yud, when two yidden get together. Yud yud cham, then it's warm. Ahavas achim, ahavas reim. Was a farbringen can ufton, can malach michol nit ufton. Whenever what a farbringen can do, even Malach Michol cannot do. So people sit together and they say brachas and they make good achlotes, and each one wishes each other. This is the happiest time. So when people go to slichas, vakeldik like that, then the Eibishter is also happy with them. Now, by the way, depression is not a sin. They say a word. Mikvah is nishkin mitzvah. But what mikvah can bring, no other mitzvah can bring. Atzvus, depression, is not an aveira. But what atzvus can bring, no other aveira can bring. So a person has to be besimcha. So when we're happy, the Eibishter is happy. So this is the time of speaking b'shvachan shel Yisrael, and it has an effect on Kol Hashon Kula, on the entire year. By the way, we're talking about a farbringen. I once heard, I don't remember, maybe from my Zayde, my father, that there was once a Godel, I don't know who it was, this was or a Rishon or Achrein, and he had the yortzeit of his mother, for his mother. And he forgot to say Kaddish. Can you imagine when a son says Kaddish, it's very important for the neshama, but he forgot. So his mother came to him in a dream, and his mother said to him, "My son, I know you forgot to say Kaddish. I'll forgive you. Happens, but I cannot forgive you that you didn't give schnapps and cake. You didn't say l'chaim." Because when people say l'chaim, the hano, the pleasure that for the neshama is unbelievable, even more than Kaddish. So we see what a farbringen, emes a farbringen can ufton. But a farbringen should not be, unfortunately, many times, it becomes meishav leitzim lo yoshav. It becomes a little litzonis sometimes, chas v'sholem. And it becomes heipach what a farbringen should be. So the Frierdiker Rebbe said, it depends on the farbringer. That if the farbringer is a dugma chayo, is a living example, then farbringen is a good farbringen. The farbringer has to be a dugma chayo, and I'm going to mention soon what the Frierdiker Rebbe said exactly. So we mentioned a few weeks ago about a bee and a spider. the difference between a bee and a spider. Why am I saying bee and spider? I want to share with you a story. Today's Mitzvah Shabbos, and there's a minhag that it says somewhere that Mitzvah Shabbos, if a person says a story of the Baal Shem Tov, Mitzvah Shabbos is a sgula for Parnasa. So there are three lav davkes, not necessarily Mitzvah Shabbos, lav davke Mitzvah Shabbos, but every night. Lav davke a story of the Baal Shem, but a story of old tzaddik, any tzaddik, and lav davke a sgula for Parnasa. To say a ma'ase of tzaddikim is a sgula for alle gute Sachen, for all good things. So I want to share with you tonight a story. And the story shows how what a person, and this is also for a Fabringer, how a Fabringer should be. As you know, I mentioned many times, when Rabbi Mindel was by the Rebbe taking dictation, so the Rebbe spoke to him, he knew shorthand, he took dictation, and he went home and he composed the letters, the Hebrew letters, the English letters, the Mechtavim Klolim. He composed all these letters, most of the letters. Sometimes the Rebbe showed him or told him the question what the person asked. Not all the time. This time, the Rebbe told him the question or showed him the question. This is written by Rabbi Mindel, so I'm sharing this with you. So the Rebbe said to him that somebody asked that he is a Meshulach. He came to America and to Canada, I think from Eretz Yisrael, and to raise money, a parnasa. And somebody writes to the Rebbe, he has to go back home, and he didn't make much money. I think a few years ago I mentioned this, but I want to bring something out here. He does, and he wants a bracha. So the Rebbe tells to Rabbi Mindel this story. In the time of the Mital Rebbe, this is written by Rabbi Mindel, time of Mital Rebbe, those days, people used to leave the home after Simchas Torah till Pesach for Parnasa or Meshulach or I don't know, business. Used to make business, and they used to come home Pesach till Sukkot, and that's how they used to live. And he was home from Pesach to Sukkot. In the middle, in Shvat, I think it was Shvat, he writes, he has to, soon in a month, he has to go back home. And he wasn't Matzliach. He was not Matzliach, it's like this person as the Rebbe for a bracha, for Parnasa, because he wasn't Matzliach. So the Rebbe tells him, this person was not Matzliach. So he has the bracha, a Rebbe, I don't know whether it was the Mital Rebbe, I don't know, maybe it wasn't even a Chabad Rebbe, but he asked a Rebbe. So the Rebbe told him he should become a Magid, a lecturer. He says, Rebbe, I never spoke in public. And if you don't mean a lecture, I never spoke b'chalal to people. I'm a balagole. I'm a wagon driver. And I don't know what you mean by being a Magid. I don't know what I'm a Ish Poshut. So the Rebbe told him, you should be like a bee and not like a spider. He says, Rebbe, well, I don't know what that means. So he told him, it says, anything that comes from a kosher animal is kosher. Anything that comes from a treif animal is treif. Why is it that honey comes from a bee? Honey is kosher, and a bee is treif. I mean, milk that comes from a cow is kosher because the cow is kosher. Milk from a chazer is treif because the chazer is treif. So why is honey kosher? So he says the difference between a bee and a spider. And you should be like a bee, he tells him. Why? Because what's a spider? A spider makes a web. The web comes from inside the spider, from its essence. What does it do? It kills, it does nothing. It doesn't accomplish anything. That comes from inside. A bee doesn't make honey. Honey, doesn't come from the bee. If honey would come from the bee, honey would be treif. The bee goes around collecting flowers, nectar, and it becomes honey. But it doesn't come from the bee. If you are going to be like a bee, he told him, when you will go around for business or collecting, and you'll lecture. Lecture doesn't mean to stand and lecture. You'll talk to people. You'll talk things that you learned. You'll be a collector. You'll collect. You'll learn Nigla. You'll learn Chassidus, he told him. You'll learn Kabbalah. You'll learn Maises of Tzaddikim. And when you'll go, whatever you do, you'll say it over to people, not your own Sforis. This is what he told him. Not your own. Then you'll be like a bee, and it'll become honey, sweet, and people are going to like it, and you'll make parnosa. And kach next year, he learned the whole summer, and that's what he did. And years later, he made parnosa every year, and he told people what he collected. So in other words, he told them a person should always be a collector. Even the Alter Rebbe, the Rebbe says, in the Sharblat, says, Melukot, the Tanya, Melukot mipisforim umipisayfrim g'dayshi elyin. The Alter Rebbe, he himself said, I didn't write the Tanya for my own. I collected it from the Shalom HaKadosh, from the Maral MiProg, from the Baal Shem Tov, from the Zohar. He was a collector. The Rebbe was also a collector. Take for Moshel, the Hayom Yom. The Hayom Yom is not the Rebbe's. The Hayom Yom is the Freidike Rebbe's. And the Rebbe was collected all these things and he put it in the date. All the Maramikemis. The Rebbe always Maramikemis by the Rebbe. It was always, where did he take it from? So a person should always be a collector. What is the lesson that we can learn out from this? Because the Freidike Rebbe said that a mashpia or a fabringer should be a collector. He should be a dugma chaye, and he should collect. He should learn nigla, learn chassidus. Then he'll be able to know what to fabring. Even a balagola can also be a collector. He could be a lecturer, but he should always collect. Be like a bee, not like a spider. And give over exactly what you heard. Now, there is once I read a letter here, at this program, that the Rebbe, somebody asked the Rebbe, he goes to the Kaisel in Etzisrol, and he wants to put a stone in the wall, in the Kaisel. Can he do that? The Rebbe did not like, I don't remember exactly the words. The Rebbe said, why do you have to add? The Kaisel itself is good. Don't add anything. The Kaisel is the Kaisel. In other words, people should not add. People should collect, say over what you said. There was once a word, I heard the same thing when Yitzchak Avinu, when he gave a bracha to Esav, after Yaakov took away the blessings, and Esav wanted a bracha. So he told him, Yitzchak, V'hoya kasher todir, u'faraktoi uloi me'altza v'recho. V'hoya kasher todir. When the Yidden will take away the yoke of Torah, when Yidden will stop doing Torah, take off ulay me'alza v'recho. Take your sword on the Yidden. That's when the bracha. And that's why we have a lot of problems also with Goyim. Because when Yidden don't do Torah mitzvahs, take away. So I heard a word, V'hoya kashet todir. A Yid has Taryag mitzvahs. 613 mitzvahs. Not Taryad, not Torid, not 614. When you start adding to the Torah, then we shouldn't add. When you add, you have eagerness for this. You have you're a psychologist, or you have eigene gedanken, and you go and you verbring with that. That's called you're adding. Don't add anything. You do collect and say over what you learned. So the Frierdiker Rebbe, when he came to America, and here I written here, he wrote in a letter. He says, "A fabringer, a mashpia should be a dugma chayo, a living example." And a living example means his anhogye, his davening, his kris, how is he kris, shalamito, he's careful in Lashon Hara. And he says over exactly, not like a spider, what takes from himself. And when a person like that brings sheves achim gam yochad, that and each one wishes each other brachas, this is a fabringer, where a fabringer is supposed to be. Why am I saying all this? You know, I said before, you have to at night farbringen, and the Mitzvah Hashem Sukkot is coming up, and there'll be a lot of farbringenish, and farbringenish have to be for Avas Yisrael, and mit Allah it has to be Ahava and Shvachon Shal Yisrael. So I'm saying this because sometimes that it happens that people farbring, and it's not the way it's supposed to be the farbringen. And I will tell you a medrash. There's a medrash. The medrash says, before Yisrael gave Tzipora, his daughter, for a wife to Moshe Rabbeinu, he wanted to make a condition with him that when you will have children, that means Yisrael's Einiklach, Yisrael's grandchildren, they should learn Avodah Zarah. They should learn about all things of the world, all things of Olam Hazeh. Why? Because then, when they learn Torah, they will realize how, like Israel, then they'll realize that the Eibishter is higher than all the Getchkes. Like Israel was. Israel knew all the Avodah Zarah, all the schmutz of the world, and now he realizes the Eibishter, so he appreciates the Eibishter. So he wanted his Einikach should be like this. But Moshe Rabbeinu said, Torah is machzir lemutov. You don't have to learn. You don't have to go to college, in a way. Or you don't have to learn anything else in order to be machzir lemutov. Learn Torah, you'll know. You don't have to. Moshe did not agree with that. Some people feel that there were Chassidim, Elter Chassidim, and I heard from a Fabringer, there was the Chassid Reb Zalman Moshe. Zalman Moshe was a tzaddik. He was a Rabbi of. He was a Rebbe. He was I think of Rebendel Futefas. The both of Mesiras Nefesh, Grace mentioned. Sometimes he spoke, coarse words. Sometimes that happened. He was a gehalten, he's given a tzaddik. So it happens. Happens even in Gemara. Some people speak word stuff, but we can't learn from that. You're not allowed to learn from that, because that's a heilige kerid with a fabringt, aber bayas a fabringer. Because I did hear from a fabringer that he said that we can't lernen to speak things that are not, because you're speaking to the Yetzer Hara, he says over here. So you speak words of the Yetzer Hara, Rahman al-Islam. And through that, the Yetzer Hara will hear. Whatever, I don't want to go into it. So what I want to say is that a person has to be a collector. Don't speak your own ideas. If you're a psychologist, or if you're whatever you are, you went to college, but Don't put that in a Farbringen. A Farbringen is a completely ruchnius and bishvachan shel Yisrael. Once there was a letter a Bacher wrote to the Rebbe. The Rebbe understood. He says he wants license. He's asking the Rebbe for a bracha that he should be able to have license. He wants. He should pass his road test, and the Rebbe answered everything. The Rebbe took his Rebbe's time. He wants to pass the road test, and he asks the Rebbe for a bracha. Why? He says, because he needs to go to Mivtzoyim, and with a car he can go to Mivtzoyim faster. So he needs the Rebbe. So the Rebbe answered him, don't put your taivas in my Mivtzoyim. I have the answer. Don't put your taivas. You want a license? You want to ask a bracha? It's one thing. But don't say because of that. This is not a way. A person, let's say he should not use his college that he learned into a Farbringen. He has nothing to do with a Farbringen. He should be a collector. This is a lesson that we can learn. Be a collector. Now I want to end off with a letter from the Rebbe. This is a letter from the Rebbe. Original letter that the Rebbe writes to somebody about a collector. And I'm going to just read a paragraph, 2 paragraphs. This is a reply, in reply to your letter, in which you write that you are an avid collector of stamps and would like to have some enclosed first day envelopes and autographs. So you send the Rebbe envelope and the Rebbe should autograph this thing. So the Rebbe answered, I regret that I cannot comply with your request. On the other hand, since everything is by divine providence and you have taken the trouble to write to me, I take it as an indication that I should use this opportunity of calling your attention to a matter which is related to your hobby. This is that every Jew is duty bound to be an avid collector of mitzvahs and good deeds in the everyday life. These are indeed the most valuable and precious things that a Jew can collect. So much so that our sages declare that 1 hour of repentance, of tshuva, and good deeds in this world is better than all the life of the world to come. Moreover, this is the kind of collection which a Jew can constantly enrich day after day without recourse to special postal issue and autographs. It is only a matter of one's own personal will and determination. I trust, therefore, that you too are an avid collector of mitzvahs and good deeds, and that compliance with the great principle of the Torah, love your fellow Jew as yourself. You are using your good influence to inspire others in this direction by example and concept. And the Rebbe answered over here also that he should attend, this is before Yontif, he should attend a Farbringen and he will be inspired from the Farbringen. So this teaches me that a person should be a collector, collect mitzvahs, don't say things from your own Farbringen, and we should have a lot of Farbringenish. And now we're going to say slichas, so the Rebbe should help that we should always have a ksiva v'chsiva teva, l'shona teva mesuka, arichas yomim v'shonim tevis to everybody. In Mitzvah Hashem, next week we'll continue our weekly program. Thank you.